Interesting.
So we're going to go over how to organize a meeting. We'll do a quick Q&A over that. That'll be quick. And most of the time we're going to practice these scenarios. The scenarios are things that have come up in meetings, like even this week. So everything in here is like based on stuff that's already been happening, and then we'll do the technology and so on. So I'm going to go over like how to organize a meeting like pretty quickly. It's all up here at pbevanston.org/leaders. So in the email you got, hopefully, it'll give you the links to like how to facilitate a meeting. If you didn't get those, we'll go over like where you can find them tonight. What I want to do now is just kind of review that, and I ask that you interrupt me for things you have questions about. So I'm not going to do a lot of lecturing. It's just stuff that didn't make sense, or you want to go more into, or you had questions about. So the first thing, the steering committee defined what the facilitators do. So there's a bunch of responsibilities. Basically, the biggest one is supporting delegates, so making sure that the delegates can develop proposals. That's your job, is to help them move towards that efficiently and fun, and making sure that everyone's voice is heard. The process is also up there, so all the meetings and all the dates are up on the website now. So there's essentially like 5 public meetings where you'll be facilitating these groups. Those will all be here at the Civic Center, upstairs, and we had Matt confirm that. And then there'll be little meetings in between if you want, where you'll do things like work on your proposals if you need to, and talk to staff about the feedback they're giving you about your proposals. But that's sort of up to you and your group to decide how you want to do those. Now, participatory democracy problem is simply takes too many evenings, a famous quote. But the good news is that meetings are good. They can help us connect, solve problems, enjoy the work. They save time by getting us all aligned and strengthening relationships. And they can be effective if they are planned and executed well, and that's what we're learning how to do tonight. Okay, so I'm going to review these pretty quickly, but interrupt me for the things that you want to talk about. Okay, so there's a couple types of meetings that you will be facilitating in PD. The first one is basically meeting 1 is going to be prioritizing proposals. So what that's going to look like is you'll come in, you'll have a goal, like try to get it down to 6 proposals or so. You'll review norms with your group. You'll review the ratings, like so each group's going to like do some pre-work to like rate proposals. You'll discuss the ones that are kind of borderline, and then you'll update your ratings, discuss again until you get to a point where you're pretty happy with what you have, or do homework. So either way. So that's kind of the prioritization meeting. Does that make sense, or do people have questions about that? Okay. Next kind of meeting that you'll have is developing proposals. So those will be work sessions. So meeting 2 will probably be a work session. You'll just get your group together. You'll look through what are the issues with your proposal that you want to fix. You'll maybe work on them there or divvy it up for homework. You'll write those and then turn it in for vetting. You have the option, but you don't have to do cadence or check-in meetings. So in between our big public meetings that we have at the Civic Center, you can optionally meet with your group to see how things are going, what obstacles people are having, and then make sure they're getting the help they need. So that's kind of the 3rd type of meeting. And then the last kind of meeting we'll have our feedback meeting. So after you submit your proposals to the staff, you'll get feedback, and then you'll meet with the city staff to discuss the feedback. That could be your whole group, or it could just be facilitators.
Will the staff help? So if we want to do one of those meetings, but not in person, but Zoom,
Yes.
how to set up that Zoom meeting?
Yes, absolutely. And this is skipping ahead a little bit, but one role you might want to assign to someone in your group is kind of like the info manager who can help with technology and managing documents and helping people get online and all that kind of stuff. So if that's not a role that you want to do and someone else in your group is willing to do that, you might consider giving them that role. I think you'd be very appreciated by many of our participants. Okay, so those are the big types of meetings we'll do. Now, how do you organize a meeting? Now, for the public, like the big meetings, we'll have agendas prepared for you. We'll have like all the structure. We'll walk through it, kind of like what we're doing tonight. So you don't have to prepare much for that. But if you go to prepare your own meetings, here's some tips about how to do that. So basically, when you make a meeting, there's like 6 or 7 big steps. So first, decide if you need to meet. So sometimes, like you can get ahead without having everyone come in to have a big meeting. So you want to think about what you're trying to achieve. when you're planning the meeting, make sure you know the outcome, who you're gonna invite, design the agenda, and you invite everyone, some of the pre-work. And then what we're gonna focus on tonight is what happens mostly at the meeting. So usually you wanna start with a check-in, you wanna review the outcomes so people know what they're doing, make sure you've got roles, review the norms, which we'll go over. And then here you're gonna do all your facilitator moves. So all the scenarios that we have on the table today, which is gonna be you practicing these facilitator moves after the meeting, share notes, and then very important, follow up, make sure people are doing the work and they're ready for the next meeting. Okay? So there's a much more detailed checklist online, but those are the big pieces of it. I'm gonna pause here. These are the big facilitation techniques. This is how you make a meeting go really well. So take a look at these, and maybe you can just, I'll just cold call, or people can raise their hand. What are some of the things on here you recognize, or some of the things you're not sure? You haven't seen that before. Go ahead, Aaliyah.
Brainstorm?
Brainstorm. Okay, who knows what a brainstorm is? What do you use that technique for, and how do you do it? Will?
Basically just excuse me, early on throwing out ideas, trying to get as much on the board as you can, and then refining it later.
And the hard part about the brainstorm is you gotta set the norm that no idea is bad, because as soon as people start judging ideas, it shuts it down. You just get as many ideas out there as possible, and you worry about finding the good ones after. It's a really great technique when you're stuck. What are other things on there you haven't seen before, or are a little weird? Great.
What do you mean by acknowledge what's holding us back?
Oh, yeah, this is one of my favorites. So, when the group is circling around or stuck on something, you call it out. So you say like, hey, I noticed that we're seeming to be stuck on this issue, and you try to like clarify what the issue is. And sometimes just that act of clarifying moves the group forward. So if you guys were at the steering committee last night, like you saw Emmett did that when he's like, he stopped the discussion, summarized, there's two issues facing us. One is, and he laid it out, and then people are like, okay, that's what we have to do. So you're just kind of acknowledging the confusion, calling it out, and then giving a clear task for the group. Yeah, what are others? Yeah.
Jellyfish.
Jellyfish. So I learned this by another name, which is rat hole, but jellyfish is a different one. What happens here is the group is getting way off track, and anyone in the group, doesn't have to be the facilitator, is a jellyfish. And the group knows that we've gotten off track and we need to go back to what we were doing. So that could have been a useful thing at the steering committee meeting last night, but we, alas, did not know that technique. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Others? What about keeping stack? Have people heard that one? That's a good one. Yeah. What's keeping stack?
Determine who speaks next.
Yeah. So when your group gets excited and a bunch of people start talking, say, okay, wait, let's slow down 1% time. Let's have Carolyn speak first and then Ray. So you just like make it nice and orderly so everyone can hear each other. Yeah. And these are all have more description online. Are there any others you want to talk about right now?
Oh, pauses and silences, does that mean encouraging a pause or, okay.
Yeah. So let's say like, Gus, I noticed you haven't been talking. Do you have anything you want to? Go wait, I'm gonna wait.
I actually don't know.
Aha, so it worked. So you pause until.
Oh, so that's different than encouraging and drawing people out.
It's a
'Cause
way.
you're waiting.
Exactly. It's giving enough wait time because
Putting the dead silence out there to make them do something.
exactly because like many of us need to think for a while before we're ready to talk, especially as introverts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Gus, did you actually have a question, or were you just role playing with me there?
No, I do have a question.
Okay.
I guess a closure, just like wrap up the.
Yeah, and we'll talk about notes in a second, but really important, the really tragic part of the meeting is when you do all this great work and nothing gets written down and nothing happens and you go back and you have the same meeting again. That's just heartbreaking. So we're gonna talk about notes and how we can prevent that.
So the facilitator is supposed to be a scribe too?
Ah, that's a great question. Let's go on to I don't have the roles. Did I skip that? Oh, how dare I? So, one of the things that you'll do as the facilitator in the beginning, and let me go back to my little meeting checklist thing. So one of the things that you'll want to do, especially in the meetings that you're organizing on your own, is figure out like what roles you want to have. And so typical ones are facilitator, that's you all. You can also assign other facilitators if you want to build your team skills, but facilitator is like really important. Another good one to have is scribing. There's a couple different ways that we can scribe, but one way is to have one dedicated person do the scribing. Timekeeper, that's another great one. I like info manager, technology manager. But you can really think about whatever roles your group needs to move forward, but those are kind of some of the common ones that you might want to try. Yeah. Let's go to notes though. So there's a couple, there's both how we take notes and who takes notes, which Caroline was just raising. So the who can be a dedicated person. It can be a facilitator, which is a little tough because it's really hard to get everything down and watch the group and do all that stuff. So I wouldn't recommend that one. Another way is you can make the group responsible. So at the end of the meeting, you pause and you get all the decisions, learnings, actions, and you get the group to consolidate that, write it down. Danger of that is that if everyone forgets, you don't have it. So Scribe can be a really nice way to do that. This will be very helpful for you in terms of getting action out of your meeting. When you take notes, there's 4 kinds of notes you want to do. You want to have tasks, so what do we need to do? Decisions, like what did we decide, because people will all forget and have different perspectives, like, so really writing those decisions down. Also learnings is good, so what did we discover that we want to remember, and then general is like your et cetera category. So it's really good to like take notes in that structured form because these are how you turn all of that good work into action. Okay. Any questions about that?
I'll just say at the end, I like that, whether you do it as an individual or a group, doing the notes, to go, before you leave, whoever's doing it, say, these are the decisions we made, this is the responsibility you took, this is the responsibility you took, so everybody knows
Absolutely.
what their next tasks are between the next meeting.
Absolutely. And when you write a task, you want, what is it? Who is it? When does that get done by?
Okay.
And if you're hardcore, who's going to bug that person to do it? But that's a bit much. Okay, norms. Norms are super important because we're all coming with different perspectives and different practices, and norms are how we get all on the same page moving together. So norms are basically just our agreements about how we're going to work together. If possible, at meeting 1, you're going to want to discuss and review the norms that we've suggested and decide if you want to use those or you want to do something else. You also want to remind people at the beginning of the meeting what norms are in play, because different meetings might have different norms, and people just forget what the norms we agreed to are. Another important thing is it's everyone's responsibility to enforce the norms, not just the facilitator. So as facilitators, you're going to want to remind your group members that this is all our jobs, not just my job. And I don't expect there's going to be like really bad problems because this is a really like great volunteer group, but if it does become a chronic problem, you want to have a one-on-one with that person or bring it up to PD manager so we can like all get back on the same page. Okay. In terms of norms, there's a ton. I'm not going to read them all to you. I'll just call it a few. Starting ending on time, that's a really good one for busy people who are giving you their precious volunteer hours. And again, like making sure everyone understands that they're responsible for enforcing the group norms. Communication for PD, making sure everyone's heard and balancing. So making sure like if someone's not talking, you're bringing them in. They're talking too much, you're asking them to like pause and let others in. Super important. Being prepared. This is something that you probably want to discuss with your group. Like, what's our norms around like doing the pre-work? Is that something we expect? Is it something that we're gonna not expect but have longer meetings? That's something you need to decide with your group. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about our decision-making norms, which has been discussed a little bit in the steering committee. One of the suggestions in the steering committee rule book is that we use consensus and majority vote only when necessary. Now consensus, actually, let me start with, how many people have used consensus as a decision-making method before? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So instead of a vote, so let's say we're a group, and instead of saying, okay, everybody in favor of aye, which is what we did last night at the leadership meeting, everybody in favor, raise your hand, you try to build consensus. So if you said, this is what I want to work on, and you said something similar, I would say, can we combine those ideas? Let's see how we get, so everybody gets on the same page. And sometimes you're not able to. Sometimes they're just disparate ideas and you end up having to vote. But if you go in with the idea of building listening, so you get to consensus when you active listen and everybody participates, and then you can start combining concepts.
Very awesome. Now, one thing that many of us have misconceptions about, consensus doesn't mean we all agree perfectly on everything. It's a process, just like Lenny described. And so, this is maybe a little bit much, but like here's kind of how consensus works. So like Lenny was saying, you have a discussion, you test for consensus. So it's not taking a vote to decide, it's taking a straw poll to see where we're at. And so one technique you can do for that is fist to five. So let's have a consensus. Should we have pizza again for our group? All right. So I want to know, I want to get to consensus. I don't know where you're all at. So I want you to give me a fist if you're absolutely not, and I will do everything in my power to block this decision, or 5, yes, pizza again. All right, so right now, fist to 5. Let's see what all right, I'm seeing a lot of 3s. Oh, I see a block, I see 2 blocks, and I see another block, and I see some liquid. So I can get the temperature of the room really quick. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is like, okay, Christine, why no pizza?
Just don't like pizza.
Just don't like pizza. And so you can really quickly, you can see where you're at. You can see where are the big concerns I need to get to, and then you can focus your discussion on that. So like, it's a process for getting us like to resolve our disagreements like really quickly and possibly, and make sure everyone gets heard. Okay? And then you can use fist to 5 to figure out like where are we in consensus. Now remember, if we get everyone to a 3 or above, we're at consensus. It doesn't mean everyone's like a 5. It just means like, okay, good enough. Like, I like pizza, but I can be something else. Fine, right? So that's a 3. And if everyone's there, great. Now, only if you really can't get to consensus on an important decision, and you absolutely have to move forward, then maybe you go to majority vote. Just because time's up, you have to make a decision, and we're going to do the best we can. Okay, so what we're striving for in PB is aim for consensus, and if you can't get there, majority vote if we need to. Does that make sense?
So you said stand aside, is that what I'm reading?
Yeah, stand aside. So this is an interesting one. So let's say Christine says like, I hate pizza, but you know what, like, I just ate at home anyway, so I don't really, forget it. Like, I'm out. Like, you guys can decide, whatever you decide is fine with me.
Okay, so she's flexible.
I'm flexible. Like,
Okay.
it's like, I don't agree, but it's fine, whatever. And sometimes that's okay, because it's maybe not the most important issue to her. Yeah.
But at least she's been heard.
Sorry?
I said, at least she's been heard.
Exactly. And that's where if you just go straight to majority vote, you're not necessarily hearing from everyone. Like, they're voting, but that's not always enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. That makes sense? That's the most tricky, Norm. The others are pretty straightforward. And then there's a bunch more that you can decide on in the group. Okay, pause there. That was a lot of just information. Any questions before we move on to the fun stuff? Yeah, Leah.
Is there a way that we can see the slideshow?
Absolutely. So 2 ways. I will put the slides up on the website after tonight. And if you go to pbsm.org/leaders, actually I'm going to show you where it is because that will be just much faster. It's a very busy page. So if you go here and scroll down to proposal development, all the stuff we're talking about tonight is in this one right here, and I'll put the slides up there after tonight.
Okay.
And again, like if there's anything like this, like pretty like dense website, so if there's anything you have questions about or want to talk about, just let us know and we'll update it or have a discussion or get you what you need so you can facilitate well.
Okay.
And build your leadership skills, that's what this is all about tonight. So I was glad to hear you say that. Okay, other questions? No? Okay, let's move on to scenarios. So, you have some wonderful facilitators around the table. Jayla, come on up.
I thought I was in front of the camera.
Oh.
Nope.
It's
Oh,
better
okay.
you on camera than me, honestly. So, let's see, so we're gonna, you have a bunch of scenarios on your table. You're gonna either discuss them or role play them, however you wanna like talk about it. And, you have some facilitators, Gus and Christine, and we'll just give you the answer if you need it. And I would like you to discuss the scenarios. And then see if you have a good way of dealing with these scenarios. Now, these scenarios were created from discussions that have happened like in the last week or two. So these are all real things that we've seen happening. These are very common medium problems. They don't just happen in TV, they happen everywhere. But go through each scenario one by one, think about how you respond it. If we're like super stuck and don't know what to do, there's an answer key with one possible but not the only way to address it. And we'll do this for about half an hour or so, and then we'll do some wrap up on the technology. Okay, any questions about that before we get started? All right, take it away.
She has the answer. She has the cheat sheet.
Actually, before we get started,
Okay.
would you like to introduce yourself?
I guess we can like
Yes,
rotate.
I'm
Seeing some nods. Celia, what do you recognize?
You said this.
Can you repeat again?
Oh, have you seen any of these scenarios happen before?
Yeah, because when I was doing the training for the idea collection in Spanish, I got to train like a 14 people. Yeah. Situations were kind of similar,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I didn't know anything about this. I just by interacting with them and things come out. But yeah, but I think everything went smooth.
Can you share, you had a great strategy for pre-work, like your good student, bad student. Could you share that with me? I really liked how you did that one.
Yeah, like when we had the meeting here at the Civic Center, and I asked the students to watch the PV video. And then I forward to them through their emails, through text, through WhatsApp. So I did a follow-up, and then the day of the meeting came, and then I said, who watched the video? And can you raise your hands? And then some of them watched, and some others didn't. And then I said, okay, so you guys are my good students for the ones that raised their hands. So I said, good students, and the ones that said, bad students. But I didn't say in a mean way. I was like, you guys are bad students. So now we're gonna learn from the good ones, but at the same time, I make them to participate. Because I had like a slideshow, and then I said, okay, I know you didn't read, I know you didn't see the video, but how about, can you read this part? And then they were reading, and then I make them to also to catch up, even if they are kind of lost too, but I never make them to feel like you are so bad.
Oh,
that
yeah,
student,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I always try to apply sense of humor when
Definitely.
I don't know. I think
Definitely.
this. I don't know. I don't want to force anybody to do that. It's your personality. But I'm always trying to be like friendly, speaking the truth, and then at the same time, sense of humor in the meantime. So that kind of helps the relationship to don't get so. I don't want to people be so tense or seriously. I also said, if there is if you don't know or you don't understand, that's okay. Let me know. Because, especially for me, there is maybe my communication is not the right communication too. I can create confusion, or maybe I'm going too fast, because we don't know when we are working with people, there is different backgrounds. And I also have my own background too.
Yeah.
And then there could be a miscommunication of interpretation with the language too. But
so-
I always tell them, it's okay if we don't understand right now. It's okay because we are learning. We are learning together. Maybe I'm a little bit above, but I'm also still learning too.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail right now. It's okay to say, I don't understand, or I understood 50%. Right now is the moment to be ourselves, to open yourself. But when the moment comes, we have the performance, then that's not okay to really be not well prepared.
There's so many good things you just said there. So like the first one, humor is a great tool, especially the first time a norm's violated. It's just light touch. It's just, oh, I know this. And that's enough to remind people that that norm exists, because usually people don't remember. And then you say, but next time,
Right.
here's my expectation, here's why it's important, here's what I expect you to do. Right?
Exactly.
So
And-
it's really good.
Yeah, and also to, if somebody wants a help individually,
Right.
I'm here to support you. You are not alone. You're not walking alone. I'm here for you.
Excellent.
So I guess that kind of brings, kind of like a bridge, right? And,
Absolutely. Are there other scenarios that you recognize from work or PB? I heard you, Lenny, you recognized a couple in there.
Yeah, mostly from the other collection.
Right.
Idea events, I mean, the one that I did, but they were playing with their phones, and I just said, so, I guess you don't want your ideas to be really heard by the city, so I'm sure you have some ideas that how the city could improve, and they put their phones away.
Right. What are other ones that, so I find norms super hard to enforce. Oh, go ahead, Leah.
One of them was
phones.
No, I have a regular job at this.
one of them I've seen at school because I'm in like this group or book club, and I have to facilitate that entire thing.
Wow.
And so for scenario 2, I asked everybody to read, and we all came to an agreement to read 20 pages. And they told me that they were going to do it, and then I followed up with it, and they were like, yes, I'm going to do it. And then when the day came, they had no idea what I was talking about, and then they said, oh yeah, I never finished the page. And so I was like,
What did you do?
yeah,
Right on time.
I just summarized the pages to them because we were under time anyway, so we have to go through that.
Yeah, that's a tough, oh, go ahead, Alexis.
One of this was also at school, but it's scenario number 1, but it said I was Jane. So basically what happened was I walked into class like about 10 minutes late, and my table was having a discussion, and the table manager there, they just decided to like catch me up on what the table was discussing, while also still communicating with like the rest of the table. It wasn't like technically like a side conversation, but like
Silence.
I get paid, instead of people bugging me.
But it was kind of like a little bit of the table manager, a lot of the tables, it's like they all, yeah.
Yeah, really, like all this stuff happens, like both at work, at school, you're gonna see it in PB, so, remember, like, there's a lot of techniques here that take a long time to master, but, just pick one that you wanna improve on, keep working on it, and like, you'll pick it up over time, and just knowing about it and trying it, you'll definitely improve your leadership skills. Okay? Any other strategies people wanna share, like ones that you thought were particularly useful or surprising?
Can you repeat that?
Oh yeah, were there any useful strategies, ones that were surprising, or you're like, oh, this is great, I didn't know this, I'm gonna use this one next time?
Oh, scenario 3, where Gus and Christine were having like this whole, basically just a conversation between each other, and not really any of Xander and Zoe, or really anybody else at the table, and that I should probably like encourage other people to probably hop into the conversation, or just cut them off for like a quick second and ask if anybody else has any thoughts about it.
Absolutely.
I'll probably even ask the kids, because the whole subject is about the school and illiteracy, I guess, so yeah.
Yeah, balancing, and that's like a super critical one for PB, because we wanna make sure everyone gets a chance to have their voice heard. All right, so well done, give yourselves a round of applause. We will put up scenarios online if you wanna look at those in the future, and we're happy to talk about more. We're have a few little to-dos before we go. I want to see if we can get people as much as possible on the technology tonight, so you can help your group get onto the technology once that gets out there. There's two pieces we have. We have a SharePoint, which is where all the documents and stuff are gonna be, and we have a Slack where you can communicate with your group if you'd like to. So if you have a computer or phone, it's okay if you don't. Try either going to yelp.com/5 if you got a laptop, or you can try the QR code and just see if you can log in. That's all we're really aiming to.
Is there a Wi-Fi?
Yes, there's the City of Evanston
Guest.
Yes.
What is it?
City of Evanston guest, and then you might need to click it a couple times before it lets you try and log on.
For the city or for the?
For the SharePoint?
Yes, and it should be whatever email you used for your, what you signed up for PD with. And if it doesn't work, we can meet with you after the meeting and get you set up, or we can like schedule another time.
I requested
Is this
permission
Microsoft?
for the SharePoint.
Yes. And then Ray, I don't think we had your email. So
Yeah, that
that's
was
what I
also-
suspect is the issue.
Yeah.
Can you send that to, maybe to Gus?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're having trouble getting in and you wanna do a quick help session, at the end, we'll end early. Just raise your hand so I can make sure we get everyone who wants help today.
I'm sorry, can you ask that question again? please?
Yeah, if you want help getting online today, just raise your hand and we will, get some help sessions going over there after the meetings. And we'll end early so you're not staying around real late.
So what are these spreadsheets?
What are the spreadsheets? Excellent. So that sounds like you've gotten in. The first task for your group, and this is gonna be pre-work that'll get sent out hopefully tomorrow, probably by Saturday at the latest, is to rate the proposals.
Okay.
So there's a big old spreadsheet in there with all the ideas for your issue committee. And you'll wanna choose which issue committee you're gonna work on first. But you're gonna go in there and you're gonna rate them from 1 to 5 based on need, impact, feasibility,
My
equity.
name is there are a couple of education. Oh, wait a minute, there's some for each one.
Yeah, you can also add additional if you want to, but those are the ones that we've collected so far.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's great. If you're in there, that is mission accomplished for the SharePoint. Anyone wanna get some quick tech help before the end of the meeting tonight? If you change your mind, we'll be over there. Second tech task, can you log into the Slack? Oh, and that's QR code or yelp.com/east, we'll take you there too.
Yeah, that workbook might take a while to load.
ideas.
I mean, if their committee really like has an idea that didn't get in there that they want, that's fine. Yeah. We might have to check the spreadsheet. Did anyone having trouble getting into Slack that wants help tonight?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, no, so, sorry, you're right. So the spreadsheet, we're not
Matt, what
looking
was
for
the-
right
the other
now.
thing?
Okay.
Okay, so the
Yeah,
SharePoint is yelki.com/5.
We would actually do your ratings. Are we gonna explain how to read the spreadsheet?
That will come in the email that we'll hopefully send out tomorrow
Okay,
about the
so
pre-work.
Don't worry about it for
Yeah,
now.
but basically, the answer is, you'll take a tab, put your name on the tab, and then
And rate.
we're hoping to get people's
PBM
issue
and
committees,
proposed
preferences, and then put their names on the
If you
tab.
Oh, the Slack, for the Slack.
Yeah, so you've got the right
Like the
name. Right.
URL?
Yeah. So I already have a Slack account, I still have to go back. Oh, that's what I wanted.
That's the Slack one, is at yelki.com/e-store, that link or that QR code.
Oh, could you, if you already have Slack set up, do you have to do something to get the channels or is it?
Yeah, you gotta sign in on that,
Yeah.
that one, that's what I was trying to do.
I see.
I was trying to use my own.
So we can only pick how many of these?
How many issue committees?
No, so the ideas, there's like a ton of ideas here, but then what do we do?
What we're hoping to do is rate all of the ones in your issue committee. So there's probably about 100 ideas.
Yeah,
It's
Oh,
gonna
boy.
be, yeah, you gotta go quick.
really?
Yeah. And so that'll be pre-work for meeting one, which will happen in about a week and a half from now.
Everyone will, but they have to use Slack.
That's a good question. We can talk to you tonight if you want that, or maybe we can set some time in meeting one. I'm looking at Matt.
I think meeting one is gonna be a good time when everyone's there to talk about Slack.
And YouTube has a lot of resources. so-
Yeah, that's a great point.
I watched
I've done this
Free
3
homework
times
with
now.
YouTube and then.
I did it at home, but it worked.
Yeah, it's not working.
It's not working on this. What did I sign in?
I'm gonna skip this one. I think we should do paper.
Those slides are gonna be somewhere where I can access them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the links that I'm giving you now will be in the pre-work as well, so
Thank
this
you.
will not be the last time.
Easier for me to do it at home, all my
Okay,
emails and
so
all my
just to wrap
passwords I
up, so we can
remember.
get you all out of here on time.
I almost brought them.
So your next to-dos, so review any of the facilitation you want. The pre-work that's gonna go out hopefully tomorrow will be to read about proposal development. The big one though is rating the proposals, so that spreadsheet you saw on the SharePoint, that's the pre-work for meeting one. So you might wanna try doing a little bit of that before your issue committee gets on. There will be a sign-up budget delegate RSVP form, so that'll go out in the pre-work email that Matt will send out hopefully tomorrow, which you'll just say like, yep, I wanna be budget delegate, here's the issue committee I wanna be in, read the norms, all that. Then that's like kinda like what everyone's gonna do, and then as you're assigned to issue committees, you're gonna wanna help your people in your issue committee get online if they have help. We will also be doing that in meeting one, but if questions come up, we're gonna have the facilitator name, so they'll hopefully be asking you for help as well. And then remind your issue committee members to do their pre-work.
So then, should we suggest that they do bring some type of device with them?
I think so.
The laptop is their, like their phone for the meetings?
If they have it, we also have to make it accessible to people who don't have or don't want devices
Do you
there.
guys have Chromebooks or anything available for use?
Not like a bunch, basically.
Yeah. And so one thing we might have to do for meeting one is basically like have one person kind of sharing their screen or like reading like what's going on the screen. Yep.
Okay, the to-dos, read about the facilitation I can do, rate proposals. what proposals are we rating
Yeah, and this.
prior to knowing what committee we're on?
Yeah, so when you do, I should have flipped these, but that's kind of why I was asking what committee you want to be on. Yeah, so we'll find one for you, and I appreciate that you're willing to be flexible, that's awesome. So we'll send out, we'll like assign facilitators to committees so you know which
Okay.
committee. And then once we get the feedback from this one, we'll give people like, yep, you were on this committee. In general, we're just gonna try to give everyone their first choice in this, like, I think for education, we'll split you into like 2 subgroups. So right now, we kind of think we might be able to get everyone on the committee they want to be on. So if you kind of know, like, but we'll go through like everyone's preferences and make a final list. So I should have flipped that. Proposals. And
So we're gonna get the proposals based on which issue committee we're on?
exactly.
Okay, and these will be the same proposals that we got at the
Yes.
orientation?
Except there's many
There are
more.
more.
So there's
We have to
about
rate all of them?
Yes.
I'm resigning from housing because
So what if they're like similar, because there are a lot that are like providing mental health, so
And there are a lot of similar ones, yeah.
and like on this one, because I know we ran into some meeting on Saturday, there's affordable housing in this, but there's a whole housing committee, so do we need to even have that in this group, in this?
we asked that on Saturday.
Yeah.
What's that?
Can I get help with this SharePoint?
Sure, yeah. And then we'll have me and Gus and Christina Morgan at that table in about 5 minutes, so we'll be
Okay,
there.
so
So meet us there.
to understand what we have to do, so there are all these things here, and we have to click on like BD1 and rank them.
Yes.
How do you rank them? Where do you put that?
So there's a tab, and we'll give these instructions in the pre-work.
Okay.
So, but if you want to look at it now, there's a spreadsheet with a bunch of tabs. First tab is just the ideas. Every tab after that is for one person. So you will put your name on that tab, and then just go down that list. Do as many as you
So if
can.
there's 200 proposals, we're rating them from 1 to 200?
No, you're rating them, each proposal based on need, impact, equity, and feasibility.
Thank you. See, I knew that.
And what is the rank, or what is the rating? Is it like 1 through 5? Like how,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and I think Gus has set it up with his wizardry so that you cannot enter anything except a 1 through 5
Correct.
in yourself.
Okay.
So thank you, Gus.
So it's not ranked choice order.
Oh, Okay, and again, this will all be in the email, I just want to give you guys a heads up.
Yeah, add me to it. Yeah, add me to it. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the time of the meeting where we normally do our notes. So I'm gonna ask you, is there any information from tonight that will help you move forward? I have
Email
slides
or
up,
phone number?
put up the scenarios. I think Matt's gonna put up the video as soon as we can. Any other information you need to help you feel better about facilitating? Ray?
Can we just, those action items that we had in the previous slide,
Uh-huh.
get an email with just
Yes.
that? And so that way, like, I can have that as like a task.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then, and then those will also be in the,
in the meeting
as
or,
well.
okay,
And I will also send them to you tonight.
okay.
What's the tutorial again?
Actually, I have to use my
The
laptop
tutorial.
and log in and I can.
Wait, say it again?
You said the meeting tutorial? That's supposed to be in the meeting?
Oh, sorry, I probably misspoke. There's an email that will go out tomorrow that you will get.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
I was
get
blah,
that.
blah, blah, blah.
I thought Slack was a phone.
So will the thing, is it gonna be like a
That's right.
screen recording, the thing that's
It
like
was a
so
phone chat.
good?
This is an email.
How to do their ratings?
No.
It'll just be written instructions,
Okay.
but
That's what I'm saying.
you know where it lives.
Yeah, so it should go to my phone, not my email.
On
It's text.
campus?
Slack. Yeah,
Slack.
It's like a group
This
chat.
is a Slack.
Yeah, it's like a group chat.
yeah, but it should go to my phone, not my email.
Okay, so
Actually, you might get notifications on your
Right.
email that somebody posted.
Right? It goes to your phone. It goes to your message,
last
not
thing
to
to
your,
do.
No, you can,
not to your email.
It goes to the app.
so you
Is
can
there,
download the app on your
I know I
phone.
have the app on
anything
my
you wanna
phone.
say
But you'll
before
get a
we
notification.
leave?
I know that, I know how Slack works, but she asked me for my email for Slack.
Yes.
I don't think it's my email, I think it's my
To
phone.
log in,
When you log into Slack, you use something, you use your email address.
Your email is,
Or you use
your phone number, or a
your app
password.
ID, or
It was like the way I have student.
your
and
Google
then
ID.
That student.
Yeah,
Are we allowed to bring a rewards?
rewards, like what kind of thing? I think that's a great idea. It would work on me if you brought candy. So yes, I think that's fair. Does anyone have anything against bringing candy for rewards? No, we like this idea. Yeah? Uh-oh. Mom wasn't sure about that one.
I know, I was expensive ideas to get.
I'll help profit towards the candy.
Nice, Ed. Do it again.
Last chance for any last questions or things you want to share or anything else? All right, a lot of great work tonight. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for dealing with the technology. Thank you for doing the scenarios. Thank you for